McGillicuddy here. I thought I would take a few moments and tell you a little bit about who I am and how I ended up in the real estate training arena. And to do that, I have to bring you back to the year 1985. Back in 1985, I was actually working in the school district in the special education department. I was happy. I had two young children. I enjoyed my job. I think I've always wanted to be a teacher. When I was a little kid, I used to fantasize about my dream jobs, and one was to be a teacher, two was to be an attorney. I really had a passion for that, and three was to be a radio DJ. I have no idea where that one came from, but those were my three dream jobs. So back in 1985, I was working in special education when all of a sudden one day I got a job offer out of the blue that I could not refuse. And that job offer was basically to come to work in Plastow, the neighboring town, for a real estate firm called Gallery of Homes Realty. So I took it, and I very quickly got my Massachusetts license and my New Hampshire real estate license, and I did a little bit of everything the first 2 years. And then after that, I started to do training. You know, I was always sharing those first 2 years, and I think the natural part of me was to just continue to do training and share. And so it was an awesome opportunity to be named the training director of Realty Gallery of Homes. They had 3 offices, and I was pretty well in charge of coming up with a training program and making sure that all their agents were trained. It was the ideal job. I probably spent about 80 to 85% of my workday training other agents, and the other, 15% or so, or 20, basically doing real estate sales. So one thing I always did early on is I continued to make sure that I was educated. I took as many training courses as I could. I spent a lot of money educating myself in real estate, but I loved it. And about 1990, I married my husband Jay, and I went to work in his family-owned firm, Hampton Associates. His dad and stepmom had started the firm, and Jay was running it at that time. It was Hampton Associates, Stage Road Realty. Much smaller firm than Gallery of Homes, so the training opportunity was not there. But so what I did is I probably spent about 80% of my time actually selling real estate, and the other 20 or so training the agents that were in the office. We only had a few agents, but I loved mentoring them, I loved training them, I loved helping them. About that same time, I started to develop training programs that I could offer outside the company. I continued to do that. In the mid-1990s, I think about 1996, we actually sold our company and merged with a company named Century 21 Bridge. Awesome opportunity for me because I became their training director. They had 3 offices at the time, and I was in charge of the entire firm's training. I was able to mentor, I was able to do one-on-one coaching and set up a training program, and I absolutely loved it. I was in my element. Did that for a long time, and during the time that I was doing that, I was also developing training programs for outside the firm. I started to go and present training programs to some of the local boards in the area as well as the state association. I got several classes approved, and I was happy and really enjoyed it. And I realized then that for me, training, sharing, skill building, helping others achieve their dreams was really what I wanted to do. We stayed with Century 21 Bridge Realty until about about 2005. We saw that there were changes happening in the real estate industry. You know, the web was changing how realtors were doing business, and also how training was being conducted. So in the mid-2000s, we took a good hard look around, and we ended up joining a company called Prudential Verani Realty, where we still currently sell real estate out of. So working for Prudential Verani at the time was really exciting because they were so innovative. They were so outside of the box. They were all over the web. They were so forward thinking. It was just incredibly wonderful. And very quickly I started to work in their training department, and basically was in charge of the part of the new agent training program, the agency portion. And I would teach the agents all about buyer agency, all about disclosure requirements, how to disclose, what to disclose, when to disclose. I totally loved it. And slowly, over the course of time, we added on some social media training. And that was wonderful. At the same time of doing that for Prudential Verani, I was also going and speaking at other boards, The Concord Board of Realtors hired me to come in, and I remember they had a crowd. It was like 150. It was the first time I spoke in front of a huge crowd like that. I found out I was in my element. I loved doing that. I started to, go to the Vermont Association of Realtors. I actually spoke at their convention twice and do a lot of their ethics training. I went to the Maine Association of Realtors, spoke at their convention, and the New Hampshire Association of Realtors at their convention, as well as Women's Council's events, and doing a lot of one-on-one training, consulting, going into real estate firms, going into non-real estate firms, and just helping them understand and navigate not only real estate skill building type of courses, but also social media. So I realized training is definitely where I wanted to be. Around 2008, I'm not too sure exactly how this happened, but around 2008 I was convinced to throw my hat in the arena and actually run for president-elect of the New Hampshire Association of Realtors, which I did, and I won the election. So 2009, 2010, and most of 2011 saw me very busy with the state association as president-elect, president, and then immediate past president. I took my volunteer obligations seriously. I probably spent a good 70% of my time devoted to the volunteer association, and probably a good 25% of my time to basically training. And I would have loved to have done more in the training, but it just couldn't. There was just too much of a conflict with all my state duties. And then a very little percentage of my time actually selling real estate in the last 3 years. But that said, here we are, the tail end of 2011. 2012 is right around the corner, and I am revamping, re-gearing, and ready to go. I'm getting a bunch of classes approved to devote the majority of my working day doing real estate training, because that's what I love, that's what my passion is. So rest assured, I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Everything I know, all of my skills, everything I have as far as real estate training is all practical, hands-on. It's all things that I've done. I walk the walk, albeit not as much anymore as I used to, but I still list, I still sell. Majority of my time is training. That's my passion. So if you're looking for a speaker, a convention speaker, someone to come in to your office or to have a conference or to a small group or large group, I hope you consider me. Monika McGillicuddy, 603-548-7728, or on the web. Just Google my name.